Hello, Doctor. Hello, Dr. Lyons.
How are you, Chip?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Len.
Hello,
Actually,
everybody.
Doug, I respond in that with a pretty normal way. I'm
Yep.
actually working through kidney stones right now.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, I've had those several times. They're awful.
Yeah,
Got it.
thanks. Thanks for sharing. Yep. I would agree that they are awful. I just had my CAT scan a little while ago at Salem Hospital, so we'll now see what the next play is. I've had them before.
Yeah, my son just had him, Chip.
Oh, geez, that's early.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
young.
yeah. So
And he's all married too now, right?
he is.
Congratulations on-
Correct. So I'm actually, I'm going to see Martha and Joe this weekend down in DC.
Oh, great. Perfect. Good, good.
Hey, Len,
Yes.
can we connect tomorrow just to talk about a presentation at school committee?
Sure.
Another one, Doug, or the one that you had?
Another one. We're just looking to something, very brief, abbreviated, maybe similar to town council with the information, some of
Oh,
the,
at the school committee, that I was right. Okay.
Yeah.
I got the two confused.
no worries. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Chip. Hello, everyone.
Lynn, are we starting with high school or public safety tonight?
Public safety.
Do you know about when we'll make the shift to the high school, Lynn?
I think public safety should go pretty quickly. I would say half an hour to 40 minutes.
Okay.
I would agree. It depends how much conversation we have about PCOs.
Yeah,
The rest of it's pretty easy.
right.
Lynn, if I could ask you, when we do start looking at invoices, if you
Yes.
just I'm on my phone tonight. So if you
Okay.
as big as possible, and then I can make it as big as possible, we're good.
Okay.
Not as possible, but
Okay.
Okay, it's 7:01. Lynn, I made you the co-host.
Can you see my screen?
I
Yeah.
can.
Excellent.
Before we
Okay.
start, is there any public participation? Hearing and seeing none. I'll just make sure no one's raising their hand. Nope.
and we have quorum, Joe?
That's a good question. I forgot to look. Yes, I think we do. Phil, Jason. I saw Tom, John is on, Mark's on. We do.
We have it, yeah.
Phil, you had a question? You sent an email on?
You can just respond that to email if you'd like, or it's up to you. I kind of sent it on email just to get your thoughts offline, but it's up to you.
We can have executive session, but it's very limited reasons for it. For any kind of executive session. So if you want to email me what your reason is, I can then let you know. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Lynn, why don't we begin?
Okay, good evening, everybody. On the agenda tonight, we have review of the September 8th building committee meetings, the review of the September 2022 invoices, review of change order number 8. We did stick in a review of a PCO that we'll do right after the change order. I'll give you a quick budget update, and we do have the final dedication plaque that you should have seen in your packet. Then I'll turn it over to Bond for a construction update.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval of the September 8th, 2022 PBC meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the September 8th PBC meeting minutes.
I will second that.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Does anybody have an objection to approving the minutes? Hearing none, minutes are approved.
Do you need it bigger, Chip?
Nope, that should do it. I move that we approve left field invoice number 23 dated 9/30 for the sum of $18,500.
I will second.
Any questions or comments? Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
Mark,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. Okay. Invoice approved.
I move that we approve HKT Architects 21-022023 dated 10/4 for the sum of $18,117.50.
Yeah, I'll second that. The amendment, the second one has the same invoice number. Chip, I don't know if we want to put them together.
They always do, but I
Okay.
always do two separate votes.
That's fine. So I'll second the 18,117.50.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
I move that we approve HKT amendment number 2. Same invoice number 21-022023 dated 10/4 for the sum of $1,708.
$760.
Yeah, 1760. Small phone screen.
$760, yeah.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
I move that we approve Bond Buildings invoice number 9 dated 9/30/22 for the sum of $937,137.37.
All right, I will second that.
Is 37 the magic number or something? Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
Mark,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Approved.
so the only question I have, Lynn, and it's not whether we pay them or not, what percent to complete are we with Bond at this point?
If you can wait till a
Is
further
it-
slide, I can,
Oh.
yeah, show you.
Got it. I move that we approve Briggs and I'll be on my pins and needles, but yeah, I'll wait.
I can advance it and show you.
No. Briggs Engineering invoice number 0221919 dated 9/24/22 for the sum of $2,856.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
John.
Yes.
Approved.
Next, we have construction change order number 8 for a total of $23,014. It is composed of 4 PCOs, 2 of which are use of holes and GMP.
so we've talked about all this below before, so I move that we approve the construction change order number 8 for the sum of $23,014.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Bill,
yes,
John.
Yes.
Approved.
This is one that's different from the packet that you received. It's a PCO number 63. It's time sensitive, and it's also over the amount, I believe, that they authorized Chip and Joe to approve. So we're bringing this forward tonight for discussion and tentative approval. It'll come in the next change order, but we would like to at least get this one, this PCO approved so that we can avoid additional costs.
yeah, I'll give some background, Lynn, if you don't mind.
Please.
So this PCO came, it's huge, first of all, but this came from the page turn that that Phil and I did with the police department, with Bond, and with HKT, reviewing ads, changes, and all the stuff for the future when we were working on dispatch. So this is the rest of the bill. So it's a lot. It's made up of a number of different things, some of which are things like the TVs in rooms, which we thought the town was going to do, and then they decided not to do it. So we had to get Griffin to do it. So there were 15 or 16 drops there. The electrical was not coordinated with the final furniture layout. So there were a lot of moves, a lot of ads. But we think, and we're pretty comfortable that we have this down and this will be it. The other piece of it all is that if we don't do it now, that means if we don't approve them to move forward now, when we're roughing the new edition and all the other spots, they won't be able to do it in sequence and they'll have to come back. And that just would be more. And they've suggested that there's going to be a 10-day to 2-week extension request coming with this. So I put a caveat with suggesting and making a motion that we move forward with this change to say that there's 2 things. A, there might be still some considerations of things they need or don't need. So it will never exceed this 61,968, but if the number changes, it can go down. And 2, there'll be no time extension. That if we approve this now tonight, the time extension comes off the table and we put extra bodies on, or we do what we have to do to get this work done. So that's why I'm suggesting we approve this evening with those 2 tentative thoughts.
If I may ask, Chip, did Griffin agree about the no new time extension, or is that something that they may dispute?
it may be something they would dispute, but I think they probably put that in thinking they wouldn't get an answer for a few weeks. So I believe Dave Capaldo and his very proficient and effective team can go back to Griffin and say, you got this. Now let's get it done.
And
Yeah, I
Mr.
can
Mr. Capaldo, now that you've been praised, rarely.
I am comfortable with that approach. I think I've got a thought on how we will approach Griffin. I think it'll work just fine if we do get this approval. The big issue for bond really is we've been trying to make up lost time from some of the initial issues we had at the addition, and we've been doing a good job at that, and we don't want to lose that. So I think if we can get this done, I think I can negotiate with Griffin to make their request go away.
Gee, Dave, we say something nice about you and all of a sudden you're very agreeable. We'll have to remember that from now on. Any other questions or comments?
Joe, I have a quick question. Does HKT need to approve this as the architect? Have they reviewed it? I know it just came in. Are they on the call do they have any comments about any of this as the designer about any of these changes?
Phil, I
Engineer has gone through it, right, Adam?
specifically, no, they have not, but this was scope that we developed without them, and it's unit costs that we have from other changes and we have in our contract, right? So we kind of developed the scope more with the police department directly and what they wanted, and not with HKT design. It's more driven by its power and data drops, and for televisions, radios, new furniture, etc. But we are confident in the number and don't think it needs an engineering review.
Okay, I've been sitting in all the working groups, so I think we need to approve this. Like, this is just something, the page turn was an arduous process, but we really made some good changes, I think, that ultimately are going to lead to a better workspace for the police in their offices. So I really think we need to move ahead with this. And I like the thing that Chip brought up about the time, because that was really going to domino affect a lot of the rest of the project. So I think this is a good way to proceed if we can.
Any other questions or comments?
So I move that we tentatively approve.
No, we not tentatively.
We have to approve.
We have.
Well, I move that we approve PCO number 063 PRO 15R1 for a sum no greater than $61,968, and that there will be no extension coming back regarding this PCO.
I'll approve based on those contingencies.
All right. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Approved.
so now that we approved it, what does this do to our overall budget, Lynn?
Funny you asked.
I queued you up. It's all
Like
good.
segue here, Jason, for crying out loud.
Right on time.
Really, Jason, it's like, give her the lines.
Just like old times, huh?
All right.
So we have committed 96% of the budget and expended 48%. To answer Chip's questions in regards to construction progress, based on submitted cost, we're at 45%. However, that doesn't take into account the 5% of retainage that's held. So basically 50% of the project.
And guys, realistically, do we feel both from a schedule standpoint and from a cost standpoint we're there?
Based on dollars, yes, just because all the equipment for the mechanical room's been procured and installed at this point. So, so yes, based on cost, yes, based on time progress, we're getting close, and
Okay.
so I think it's pretty even, actually, now that I'm thinking.
Lynn,
Okay,
looking
So
at the contingencies,
yes.
Is this, what is this, is 61,000 taken out of this or?
Adam?
No, so.
No, he has some comments to make on that.
Yeah, so I'll take this one step further. So if we look at the remaining contingencies, owner's contingencies, of which is made up of construction and owner, our total is 332,926. That is through change order 8, which we have just approved tonight. The 62 grand that we were talking about is was in pending PCOs, right? So what's not shown in the 332,000 is both pending PCOs, change orders, and estimated PCOs, right? So we have estimated PCOs. If anything comes across the bow that we think could have change impact, we put at least a rough order of magnitude budget towards that. So if we calculate in pending PCOs of $89,853 and estimated PCOs, which are per bonds log from Tuesday, $134,063. We have one more item that we're adding to the estimated PCOs, which is a recent glycol issue, which is $30,000. It leaves us with a worst case scenario remaining contingency of $79,010.
That's on our side of the ledger.
That's on our side. And if you see, when we say GMP contingency, that is the latest of bonds,
right?
Contingency internal to the log. I will say that, and Lynn and I have been talking about it, and Joe and you and I have been talking about it as well. As we step through this budget, there are a few places that we can pick up some money. Okay.
Just leave them there. Don't move them.
No, we haven't, but we've
Right.
identified them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little
Okay.
money to wring out, if you
Yeah.
will. We never like to get it too close to the bone, but I will say there's a little bit of margin in some of those numbers.
Hey, Adam, can you explain that glycol issue?
Yeah, so we're doing some extensive mechanical work within the building. And when we tapped into we always knew we were going to be tapping into the glycol loop, but we tested the loop. It was, the glycol loop was both very dirty, full of solids, if you will. And we tested the glycol at that time, and it was at 2%. And the glycol should be closer to 30%. And if it isn't, with the amount of fresh air that's taken through those air handlers on the roof, you have you really risk a freeze up, which would be not good, right? So it's kind of an existing condition that we came upon, but we really found that we had no choice, that we need to both dump the existing water with it, put a detergent in it, flush it, and then we're going to recharge it with 30% glycol. It's the right thing to do. There's really very little choice without risking a freeze up.
And the glycol is part of the circulating heating cooling system, correct?
You do. And as those pipes get close to outdoor temperatures in the winter time, it protects them from freeze up. So with a 30% glycol mix into that closed water loop, it protects it from freezing.
Thank you.
You bet.
So if that was a closed loop, was there a leak somewhere that we've now repaired so that we're not losing glycol again? How did we lose all that glycol?
I think just over time, as you tap into the system, there is a makeup component to it. It does gradually degrade, and it gets worked out. It takes a long time for it to get that low, but unfortunately, that's where we're at.
If I was to make an educated guess, Jason,
Yeah,
I would say that was never checked and never maintenance performed on it.
that wouldn't surprise me, Chip.
No, that's why I say an educated.
Yeah.
Which just reminds us that we have to, have a maintenance log, and Chris Pierce has to understand what he needs to do on a regular basis for all these new buildings.
And moving forward, Chip, we're going to make sure that we get good training to Chris Pierce and his folks, and we're going to give them good information about as-built and O&M manuals, and we'll set them up as good as we can.
So can I just ask Adam or Joe, without going through the details, when you guys went through the budget line items, about how much did you identify roughly that might be, maybe available?
That one of them was about 50,000. Right?
Yeah.
Adam?
Yeah. I would say it's a little less than 100,000, perhaps.
One of them was a significant number of like 50,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
But we're not going to touch it. We're not going to get,
Yeah.
That's in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Okay, any more
Any other
questions?
questions? Any questions or comments regarding the budget? Okay, Lynn?
And next, here's the plaque. You received this in your packet, so if you want to take one last look at it and let me know if there's anything you see wrong with it. But other than that, we'd like to get it out this week so that they can get it into fabrication. It very closely matches the existing one you see here on the left, so I think it'll look good together.
Yeah.
Hey, Lynn, can you do one thing for me?
Yes,
Can you check the Galvin and see whether I was junior at the Galvin or not?
yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, or I'll go down and look. I don't know how we put it on.
We can
Not-
take a picture and send it to you, Chip.
Well, it's just more curious to be consistent. Maybe.
I may be able to grab that submittal. I'll take a look right now while we're on and let you know if I can find
Okay,
it.
awesome. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Then last item here is our next meeting on the public safety building will be November 10th. We will be having an October 20th meeting for the high school. So if anything does come up, we can also put the public safety building on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna
Wait 1 second. Chief Scory? Chief,
Yes, Joe.
is the police department going to be down at the town day?
We are planning on having some people there, yes.
Okay, if there's any questions, just for your information, I'm going to confirm this. Phil and Tom, you're both going to be down there for town day, is that correct?
Yeah, I'll be splitting time between the beer garden and your table, Joe.
Oh, no, wait a minute here.
Yeah, I'll be there at the table, Joe.
I'll swing by for a little while also on the first half. Of the,
Okay, John is also going to be by, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, more on the beginning side or when I get knocked out of the cornhole tournament. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And Tom, you're going to be there as well?
Yes,
When Phil's
I'll
at
be
the
there.
Beer garden?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Phil to the bear garden.
Good. All right. So Chief Scory, if people had questions regarding the public safety, project, and it's something that you think somebody from the PBC should answer, they're going to be over at the high school table. Okay?
Okay,
Okay. All right.
thank you.
All right. The update.
Yes, so we'll turn it over. I don't know, Adam, if you want to say anything about phasing.
Does he need to be co-host here?
Nope.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll just talk a little bit about, we have a big milestone coming up, which is occupancy of the new dispatch station from the upstairs present place to the new place that we just built. We have a lot of new technology there, pretty sophisticated new casework. We're working closely with E911, town IT, police department, but we are going to make that, we are going to go live or occupy that space on October 18th. And that's a big day for us. And
So, Adam, what time do you think it'll be ready to roll?
well, we have to migrate down the the state E911 equipment, as well as some phones and some PCs. And it has to be a very careful, coordinated move. And we're going to do it station by station. There's 3 stations down there. And the total, while we're doing that, the police department is going to roll their dispatch traffic to Reading. And that'll be an outage of about 6 hours as we transition station by station. The one will come up at a time. And it's about a 6-hour process.
Do you think it by 3 o'clock or after the construction meeting, it'll be ready to be viewed?
Yeah, it kicks off at 9 o'clock.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, construction update, Dave?
I'll actually take it this time.
I'm gonna have John take it.
And,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I'll start with the good news
Sorry,
is
John.
we actually received temporary certificate of occupancy for dispatch today. So all set to move into that space. Signed off building inspector today.
Great. Right.
Some photos here. That's that completed dispatch area and working back into the lobby, some of the completed spaces. HKT went through and punch listed lobby records, any of the connected spaces to the lobby. We're working through the last couple items there, getting prepped for that to wrap up. Some other great news. Next Tuesday, we're scheduling, we have scheduled boiler startup, fire up, and then we're actually going to do the training as well too for town folks. Everything's come together great in that room. Last component would be the domestic water cutover, replacement of another lock and bar unit in there. That'll be a little bit further down the road, but boiler startup ahead of the 10-15 cold months. And then on the right-hand side is progress with the addition exterior. This was earlier in the month. There's certainly been a lot of progress since that point, which we will see on the next slide. During this month, slabs have been placed, exterior framing's gone in place, roof has gone on, sheathing is done. Actually, all the exterior waterproofing was applied today. Windows and window frames are on site. We'll begin installing. And by end of the week, next week, we'll begin masonry facade going up there.
So when do we think that we'll be opening this to the public?
The lobby.
Yeah.
So still working through hardware issues at the vestibule. That's our last holdup.
What is?
Hardware coordination for the storefronts at the vestibule. Our projection right now would be mid-November.
Okay.
And the only thing that we're waiting on is that hardware. It just got approved, or I think yesterday, John.
We had a coordination meeting today with hardware consultant and vendor, so past it at this point. Additional photos here, just interior framing progressing inside the addition, starting to knock out some of the existing brick at the old facade to make the pass-throughs, pushing forward interior rough mechanical. It's going to help us, that approval of that PCO, getting that installed, and then moving up to street. Sally Port demolition has begun, slabs in place and taking down some of the existing doors and interior walls to begin retrofitting that space and making the extension. Waiting on a few coordination items with HKT for details, but keep moving ahead here. Talked a lot about these items, but lobby 2A, last few items are related to the E911 dispatch turnover. Again, 1018 confirmed. Last few punch list items to clean through that space. TCO received. Boiler room said next Tuesday, firing those up, start up and do training. Exterior, concrete sidewalks replaced today. We plan to pave next week, do line striping with hopes of turning over the first half of the parking area back to the fire department public for 10/21 is our aim right now. In addition, MEP roughs going on, windows, window frames, Msba metals are on site, keeping progress moving there with rough inside target drywall date of 10/24. Begin finishing out that space, and masonry beginning end of the week next week. Fire department side west, that's what I just touched on. Concrete pathways done today. Bollard set. Last couple items are just setting pavers. One last light pole and flagpoles.
As we spent a lot of time talking about dispatch, where do we stand with records moving? Because isn't that another piece that has to happen to start doing some of the renovations?
Yes, so the two W4 windows are being installed. Actually, were installed today. Working on wrapping up the drywall returns around, cleaning up that space, and it's a end of the week next week. We could that could roll in with some of the other lobby spaces or move.
I'll just add to that, Chip and John, that we'll complete the millwork in those areas, which is largely installed, but it needs a little bit of, it needs completion. That the movers are set to come back on 10/17. So I think that's our limiting factor in records. So we could occupy that anytime after that. So as early as 10/18.
So kind of by the end of that 10/17, 10/18 week, we should be into records and into dispatch.
Yeah, definitely into dispatch. Yeah, those could coalesce. Yep. I'll have to talk with the police department about if that's if that'd be desirable for them, but
Well,
that would work.
We're so possessed with getting dispatch and all the coordination that goes with it, we've kind of forgot about the other space.
Yeah,
We haven't.
I think there was some want to get the dispatch kind of occupied and going before they complicated that space, but we'll talk about that at Tuesday's project meeting, Chip.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect schedules, that's all.
Yeah.
We gotta get to keep the schedule moving, then we gotta get them moved.
You bet.
Okay. That's it for the public safety building. And I'm going to move on to the high school.
Lynn, hold up a second.
Okay.
Chief Scory, do you have any questions, concerns?
No, all good. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. And before we go to the high school, I want to indicate that probably before our next public safety meeting, we're going to go into executive session regarding a issue of possible litigation that was requested by a member today. All right.
Joe, what's the procedure for that? Do we open the meeting and then go?
You open the meeting, we then have a roll call vote to go into, we discuss the subject matter. We then have a roll call vote to go into executive session, and then we come out of it and do that. We can either do it before or at the end, either one. Well, that's just how things are at the time.
Of our next meeting.
Correct. I think
Okay.
it's something that we need to, as a committee, to discuss.
Yeah.
But you discuss that in executive session.
Okay, got it.
All right.
Ready?
Questions with that? I can't give too much, but is there anybody have any questions or issues with that? Are the members of the PBC? Okay. All right, Lynn, sorry to cut you off there.
That's all right, sorry.
Out of the high school.
Let me take a deep breath.
Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of them.
Oh, stop it.
We gave you kidney stones, so what the hell are you on?
Good point.
Okay, on the agenda, we're going to review the meeting minutes, monthly invoices, give a quick budget update, and then we'll dig into the cost update and round it out by talking about the next steps in terms of meetings needed and the schematic design schedule.
All right, you hear a motion for a approval of the September 8th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee Building Committee minutes.
I move that we approve the September 8th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee School Building Committee meeting minutes
And
as written.
I will second.
Any discussion, comments? Hearing none. Are there any objections to approval of the September 8th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee School Building Committee minutes? Hearing none, they're approved.
I move that we approve Left Field's invoice number 17 dated 9/30 for the sum of $22,000.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yep.
Mark?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
I move that we approve SMMA feasibility study schematic design invoice 005-7759 dated 9/13 for the sum of $74,215.
I will second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Chip?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yep.
Mark?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Approved.
I move that we approve SMMA adds environmental engineering invoice number 005-7759 dated 9/13 for $3,355.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Helen, what was this for?
The phase 2 environmental report.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Chip?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yep.
Mark?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Approved.
I move that we approve GM2 Associates 005-7759 dated 9/13 for the sum of $5,651.25.
Second.
And Helen, what was this for?
This is predominantly for these supplemental survey. We are also expecting invoicing for the traffic report, which we have finalized recently. But, they are our consultant for both of those scopes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Chip?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yep.
Mark?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Approved.
I move that we approve LaLaF Geotechnical Consulting 005-7759 dated 9/13 for the sum of $23,709.95.
Second.
Helen?
Geophysical survey and additional borings.
Okay, oh, these are borings, okay. Any other questions or comments? Chip?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yep.
Mark?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Approved.
I move that we approve bond building PC1 dated 10/6/22 for the sum of $40,000.
Second.
Questions or comments?
real quick on that, there's not much backup to this invoice. I was just wondering, this has been reviewed and approved, right?
Yes, this is their schematic design fee, and it was predominantly for the estimating exercise that just wrapped up.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
Mark,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay. This brings us to the budget. We are 86.6% committed, and we have expended 68% of the feasibility study budget. We have about 13.4% uncommitted, $268,472. We will probably use some of that for a title search for the Hemlock Road coming up. But we still have a chunk of that hopefully we can put towards the permitting phase.
Any questions or comment on the project budget? All right, thanks, Lynn.
So for the month of September, we had 3 estimators working on the estimates. SMA put together a schematic design package. We had weekly meetings with them to review the scope to make sure everybody had the right scope and what they were estimating. And the estimate, AM Fogarty was the estimator under left field. PM&C was the estimator for SMMA, and then we had brought Bond on specifically so that we would have a construction estimator on board. So the costs that came in for construction ranged from 229.4 million to, 223.8 to all the way to 229.4. And I'm gonna apologize because AM Fogarty and PMC were the same, but PM&C actually had a budget, our cost of 220.3 million. So that's an error I'll fix. Because
Sorry, Lynn. So PM&C was actually only 220?
220.3 million, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And you can see it on the chart over here. I know it's small, but I also in your packet, you received this spreadsheet, so you can see that. Bond fell in the middle of the 2 estimators, but also because Bond will be continuing on with this. If the project gets approved, we are using Bond's estimate as the basis for the total project budget that you'll see next. We've been talking about cost breakouts. We all 3 estimators provided costs for these items that we had broken out that are considered an eligible cost by MSBA. And these are the cost of those. When I totaled them up, it totaled 26.6 million. But when I figured all of these into the MSBA calculations, it only excluded 10.2 million. So
what do you mean by that, Lynn?
so when you have excluded space, it gets the square foot and gross square foot gets counted, and they apply it against the overall cost. And so when you put the square footages in, the calculation comes out as an exclusion of 10.2 million. So it's actually a better breakout for us than, just totaling up the costs as you see them here.
So does that mean it will only cost 10.2 for all those extras? Or
That's
it's
all that they're not participating in. Doesn't mean it will cost that much. It just means that instead of them excluding 26.6 million, they're only going to exclude 10.2 from their participation.
But the town cost will still be the 26?
Yes,
Will be some percentage of that, right?
right. So in other words, the town will pay 100% of 10.2 million, and then the remaining 16 million MSBA, I mean, there will be a percentage of payment by MSBA.
All right, so we just don't know what the total, what we don't have is what the total amount of what the town will pay on this 26 million.
No, because it's kind of calculated over the whole project, and I'll talk about that as we go further on. I just wanted to show you that these cost breakouts really don't make up the difference from the April estimate to now. We'll talk a little bit more about what does add, what some of the cost differential factors are.
Lynn, is there, I'm back on that other slide. So the breakouts total is the 26 million. I'm guessing that up in the top of the slide. Is there a breakdown to show us, like line by line? Because I'm sure people might be wondering, like, are we paying for the whole gym? Or like, is that broken down that we could get the 10 million broken down by line item too? Like as a comparison to see what's being covered and what's not?
The entire gym, what you see here is the portion that MSBA said was 100% ineligible. And so that square footage and the costs associated with it in the far right-hand corner is 100% on the town. I guess what I'm saying to you is that when you take the same formula and apply the square footages and use MSBA's calculation for exclusions, they only exclude 100% of 10.2. And I can show you that a little bit more further on when we get to the budget form.
Okay, thanks.
But that's not necessarily done line item by line item, right, Lynn?
I'll show it to you. It's almost similar to this. It's
okay.
But I'll show it to you. We also identified a few things that were not in the PSR estimate that actually with the development of the design ended up being part of the schematic design, and it contributes a little bit to the cost difference, but very minimal. We had some additional ground improvements based on the second round of technical investigations. And we also had additional road work based on the traffic report's recommendations. During the process of looking at parking spaces, we decided to expand the parking at Landrigan to help us through the transition of construction, as well as the final condition for the number of parking spaces. We added a fill storage building and a greenhouse, and then we did not know at the time of the PSR estimate what our outdoor environments were going to look like, and in the schematic design, we've added those costs in. So this is the form I was talking to you about. It's the total project budget form with MSBA. Used to be called 3011. Many people still call it that. It's a very formulaic process for determining eligibility and reimbursement. And the costs are in the first column here. And there's certain formulas attached to the second column, and you see all the calculations over to the side. I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to zoom up on it. This is where I was talking to you about ineligible building area. These are all the spaces that I had lined up, probably a little bit more by name that you could understand. But for example, how much of the athletic spaces they aren't going to participate in falls into these two categories here. And anyway, these are the, I may have messed up on the other slide, but these are what MSBA won't participate in. They estimated the district costs on this side. But I'll have to clarify that next slide. I don't know how to get back to the, there you go. But a lot of changes occurred over the last 9 months with MSBA in terms of grant caps. And, you know, we always had the cost per square foot cap, and we had the anything over 8% of the site cost cap, but they added caps on the OPM and the designer, as well as caps on soft costs and
Lynn, you're muted.
I don't know how much you didn't hear of what I said. So,
You left off at caps on soft costs.
oh yeah, so caps on soft costs, and now they're establishing caps on abatement costs, additional abatement costs. Our reimbursement rate is 4.94% with the incentives that we will be getting 1.2 for maintenance and 2 points for energy efficiency, brings us up to 53.13%. Based on the increase in cost, our approximate actual reimbursement has dropped down to 22.5%.
Why did it get lower?
Because the cost per square foot went up based on the escalation.
Oh, okay, all right.
So just, I tried to pull this out of the form that you just saw so you can kind of see where the costs are falling. We decided, we put in 100,000 under legal fees, because if we have to go through the Article 97 and the Msba process, the environmental impact report, we may need a specialized lawyer for that. So we have a budget of 100,000 for that. The owner's project management cost is at the 3.5%, which is 7,832,981. We have a bucket of owner services costs that get utilized as needed of 425,000. These we looked at other projects and what has been expended in these categories on other projects, and I feel that this is a good budget to carry for that. We have put in an optional third estimator for the design development phase. We found that once we get past the design development phase, usually your whatever costs that you end up with are pretty set at that point, and you don't need it past then. But with the volatility, it's good to have the 3 estimators. So that's an option we can do. And then we have some additional permitting costs in here only because we feel we may need them if we end up with doing an environmental impact report. Then our advertising and printing services for bidding, the various bidding that we're going to do, as well as a administrative cost allowance of 150. We have the architectural and engineering. This includes all their consultants of 22,377,620. Again, hazardous materials, geotechnical, geoenvironmental, site survey, wetlands, and traffic studies, as well as their basic services consultants. We have the pre-construction services of 340,000, construction cost at 223,797,739. Miscellaneous project costs, utility company fees and allowances of 350, testing services of 350,000, and then moving and miscellaneous project costs of 400,000. We have FF&E and technology, 4,300,000 total. That's FF&E at 2,500 per student and technology at 1,800. And then we have 13,427,864 of owners and construction contingency. This gives us a budget, including the contingencies of $273,701,204, with MSBA's anticipated reimbursement of $60,017,680. So the town share at that 22.5% has gone up to $213,683,524.
Lynn, any questions?
We have asked the town assessors to do a tax impact. It is Tim Baker on the line.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm here. So unfortunately, Victor has been out sick all week, so we don't have an official number to give back at this point. We are working with him. We sent him the information after the reconciliation, but he expects to be back in the office next week, so we have to wait till then.
Phil, you had a question?
Oh, man, I got a lot of questions. I'm sorry. Can we go back? Can you go back to the original breakdown of the things that aren't included? We'll start there. Well, my first comment is I think we need a meeting to review all this, like specifically. I can hardly see these slides. I am blind as a bat, but I am trying my best. I did look at the handout that was sent today. There's a lot of no, keep on going back past this, all the way back to like where you have like gym, auxiliary gym, that slide, Lynn, if you can. I really think we need another meeting. I almost want to suggest an in-person meeting with a projector or something that we can all sit in a room and look at. These are a lot of numbers in this. Can you go back to an earlier slide than this, Lynn? Not this slide, please.
Not the spreadsheet.
Slide 28, I think.
Keep on going.
Which one?
Keep
Keep
on
going.
The one that no, back.
going.
You're going the wrong way.
Slide 28, Lynn, I believe is what he's looking for.
I can't see the numbers
Oh.
on in
It's like
slideshow.
it's
Back
basically
at the
was like your
beginning.
first slide. There we
There you
go.
go.
This one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of the most confusing graphs I've ever seen. I have no idea what this means. I don't know how.
Sorry.
I don't know how we're going to have this. The public. We've talked about this matrix. This sort of breakdown is going to be so critical in this discussion of this school. We need to have this in the most easy to understand format. And I don't get it. We've been looking at this more than anyone in the town, and I just don't understand how these numbers and the breakout and the exclusion calculation. So that's, I think we really need the team to do a better job with this matrix and with the slide beforehand, with explanations on why we're asking for more stuff. You know, if you go to the slide before this one, that's really that one. Like the notes can't be the notes. Like we need, it's almost like I just got a booklet in the mail of like question number 1, and someone writes a narrative of why I vote yes or why. We almost need like the athletic department to write why they need these, like we need to have this information. So I'm going to express again the need for that. We can't publish these graphs as they are. They need to be worked on, and I hope the team's ready to spend some time on that. For the additional items list, if you go forward to the next one, now move forward if you can. Yeah, this one right here. These are items not, I understand do you have amounts for these? Like, do you know what the effective, like, I don't know how broken down the bids were or the price estimates. Do you have any idea of the numbers for these bullet points?
I did look, I was trying to break them out. I do know that the field storage building was around 500 and something thousand, and the greenhouse totaled that up to be around the same amount. So between the two of those, it's just over $1 million. The others are hard to break out of the estimate
Yeah.
at this point. I mean, we didn't finish the estimates until late on Tuesday, so
I know.
basically, I mean, this is all coming together pretty
Right.
quickly.
I
because
get that. And that's why I really feel we need another meeting very quickly to probably give you more time as a group to go through it all. But we need to be able to digest this as a group too, as the committee, I think, to.
Right,
truly
and
understand.
we had talked about putting this meeting off, but I felt that we needed to at least make an initial stab at it. We did plan on asking for another meeting, maybe Tuesday night or something. But we felt that you probably needed 2 or 3 times to look at this and kind of digest it. And
Phil,
Phil,
if I may, I had talked to Lynn about possibly, not having the meeting tonight to go over this, but I felt it was important, since we had made references to it to the town council, that we would get these numbers out, and it would be important for the people that have to be there at town day to have an idea of what some of these numbers are as well.
Oh, 100%. No, I'm glad we're looking at it as quickly as we are. It's a great endeavor that they put this together as quickly after getting all those numbers. I just, I don't want our next meeting in a month to be the next time we review this as a group, is what I'm saying. I really think we do need to discuss this frequently. If you go to the next slide.
Bill, just so I understand, what are you hoping to accomplish by a lot more discussions?
To fully understand these numbers and these options. I feel like there's so many, that matrix alone adds up to a lot of millions of dollars. Like,
yeah, but there really no more options. We went through all the options prior to this. This is the design we all came up with.
Well, I know. And I guess to truly understand the numbers,
there really aren't options.
We have to be able to publish something to the community about this budget. We can't send like this sheet out to the public, right? Like people are going to be asking. We have a very educated community. Like, they're going to be wanting to know. I don't understand this, and I've been looking at this. I don't like this. Isn't what we're going to give out as a matrix.
So part of the discussion and the reason these were breakout costs were because these are spaces unique to Wakefield Memorial High School, and that they're not included in MSBA's guidelines of space, and that's why they are ineligible. But we all decided that this is what the school needed because it matched the educational program, and also we were giving them the type of spaces for the programs that they currently have. So
right. And we need all this. And I'm not trying to say we don't. I'm not trying to represent that. Like, I 100% agree all of this is needed. It's more about the presentation to the community and the vote that's got to have to happen for us to be able to present this in the most easy to way format with good information as backup on why these things are included. Because I think that's where a lot of
each item. Yep.
Yeah.
For each item, we're going to need an explanation that we can clearly, tell the town, this is why the school feels they need this additional cost, and this is why we're supporting it. We need that breakdown for each of these.
We don't support.
Well, we don't support it, but it's in the why we decided to include it in the
why we
design.
decided to, correct.
Yeah, like that's where most of the questions I'm still seeing is the disconnect of people think we're building a palace of sorts when really, we're not. The school is not a lot of bells and whistles. It's a beautiful design. It meets our needs, but these are some extra things that really will meet our needs for the future. And this is why. And I feel that's what and I know you've been spending your time on the bids. I'm just saying, I really think that there needs to be time, because as soon as this meeting gets out, all this information is going to start getting out. So we need to be very, I think, ahead of that and is best in a way. And this isn't a great way to get ahead of that. This graph isn't a great way to sell this project to the public. right? And I know we're not selling, to present this project to the public is
Yes,
what I'm.
present.
Okay, so, sorry, I only have a few more. Can you go forward to that other big graph you did, the MSBA sheet?
Problem is, Phil, in my mind, if you can figure out how to present what the MSBA tries to do and not do, you should probably drop what you're doing and go be a consultant for all these other
No,
towns.
I'm not. I'm not gonna try to do that. For the credits, I'm sorry, the other one, you talked about like the 1.2 credit for maintenance. What do we have to show the MSBA to qualify for that incentive? Not the credit, the incentive. What do
Okay,
we?
so a couple days ago, I asked them for why our maintenance score was low and could they confirm it. They sent me back a report. I'm happy to share with everybody on why the school received that score, and I'll pass it out to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's critical to understand that. We just had a discussion on another project in town, and then there was an issue, a discussion about the maintenance on that building, and we found an issue. I just want to make sure that if we're getting incentives for maintenance, that we're getting as much as we can, but we're being realistic and looking into the future. The town is ready to commit to the maintenance that we're telling the MSBA we're going to do to get this incentive, I guess. So that's that would be helpful if you could send that. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I'll be done.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. Is there any other questions, comments? Please raise your hand or whatever.
Yeah, so this is John. I think just
Yeah, John. Yeah.
just to piggyback a little on Phil's, and I completely understand that this is late breaking news, right, that we're putting together, and I think that's why it's important we have these discussions and try and dig into these. But I think part of what Phil's trying to say, or at least what I'm hearing, is we really need to help the public understand why only $109 million of the whole 262 is eligible for us to get reimbursement for. I think that's going to be the biggest, what we have to tell, right? So how much of that is just because of MSBA rules about things that are standard issue for every high school, and then how much of that is based on these add-ons or the breakouts and all that other stuff that we went through. So I think we have to somehow figure out how to summarize that in a way that's digestible to people. And I think that that's going to be the biggest challenge, because when I think in everyone's head that I've talked to and have heard on these meetings and everything, it's, hey, 50%, right? We're going to get 50% of our, and I know it's always said eligible costs, right? But I don't think we've ever understood that eligible cost was going to be 109 of 270. Like, that's a big difference, right? So I think that that's going to be the biggest thing out of all these spreadsheets and all these tables that we have to figure out as a group, of how to summarize these down in a way that people can understand, because that's going to be the only way we're able to help the public understand how this comes up to us only getting 22% of reimbursement for all this cost, when I think 50% has been the sort of number that in everyone's head.
Yeah, that's the real problem, is that the MSBA comes out with this 49.94 or whatever number, and that's what you initially have, and then but in reality it's half of that, or even less than half of that, and that's the real problem with it. It's like a little I almost call it like a bait and switch. Here, we're gonna give you 49%, but whoop, no, we're not. We're gonna give you 22.
Yeah.
That's like the problem.
I don't know that I wasn't part of the group back then, and I had just moved to Wakefield, so I've always heard that Galvin was 48 or 50% or 54%, whatever it was.
We got 54% of it, John, and
right.
all of that.
But was it like this though? Was it 54% of eligible, and then when you net it down, it was really only 25?
No, we got
No, we got
Okay.
about 2/3 of the Galvin percentage points, but that's because MSBA last 9 months ago changed and added a lot of different caps.
Yeah,
it's because of these new things that they kicked in, and that's one of the problems. Now, if anybody listened to the town council report that we met, I guess there was some movement afoot from the Mass municipal people to go back to the MSBA and talk to them about these caps and try to, like the cap on the square footage cost, and try to do something about that, and try some of these other caps that they're putting on. I guess the MSBA is getting some heat from local communities regarding that, and the Mass Municipal Association. So this could change, you don't know, but I don't, we can't, that's no, that's a hope, not something in reality. I have a question. One of the things I couldn't understand, Lynn, if you can explain to me, the cost went up essentially 53 million, right, from 220 to 273, correct?
Yes,
And the town share went up 50 million.
right. And that's because we had already, the higher you go in construction, because you've already hit your caps, everything becomes 100% on the town.
Because they've already
So-
hit the caps for this
Yeah.
square footage and for the everything else.
For the site costs, the,
Okay.
the OPM and designer costs and all, you've already hit all your caps. And so when it continues, the cost continues to rise, it's all on the town.
Okay.
So can I ask, sorry, one other question.
Yeah, sure, John.
On trying to understand the cost and the breakouts. Because I think up on that slide, Lynn, the WCAT studios and the district office are broken out. Are those two items that we're just not getting any reimbursement for, or is there some reimbursement for those, the costs for those to be included in this project?
Essentially, you're not getting any reimbursement. for it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, so I think that's an important thing as we put together this summary to help people understand, like, hey, these are important things that we want in this building, but they're 100% dollar on the town, right? So it's like,
Right.
I think
Well, they always were.
Yep, but
Yeah.
now that we have real numbers, right, it's even, it sticks out even more, right? Because you got, I don't know, $10 million there or whatever it is for those. So I agree with Phil. I think we need to try and work as a team to try and figure out how to tell the story on these things.
Right. Superintendent Lyons, you had your hand up.
I did, Joe, thanks. In the town council meeting, I thought that Lynn presented a slide and Jonathan Chines followed up with a point that he made. And I just want to make sure I understand this. So in terms of the reimbursable spaces, so MSBA will give 50% for reimbursable spaces at a cap of $350 a square foot. Is that accurate?
360.
$360 a square foot. So if hypothetically we're building at $360 a square foot and all the spaces are reimbursable, we'll be at 50% or 49%, correct?
Yes, correct.
So if the square footage cost doubles, so if we can't build at 360 a square foot, but it doubles, then that 50% becomes 25%, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's something that's important because it sounds like the cost per square foot for new construction in 2022 is aligned differently to the caps that either weren't in place or didn't affect the Galvin in this way. Is that accurate?
Well, the cost per square foot of construction was a lot lower and closer to MSBA's cost cap at the time. And so therefore, that's why, we got closer to the reimbursement percentage that was presented. And we also did not have, I think we had a little bit bigger stage, and I think we had an additional science classroom were the only two spaces on the Galvin that was above MSBA guidelines.
Got it.
So,
Lynn, we had to pay for the auditorium ourselves.
well, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
But we did, yeah.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to just make sure that I understand, and I'm repeating because it is difficult to follow. Phil's points are important, not just but points, and the same with Jason. I feel like these are kind of complicated. When you talk about a percent of a cap per square foot, it's kind of like a little sleight of hand. right? And so, to kind of break that out into a talking point, is pretty, it's not that easy. So, but thank you for explaining it or clarifying.
Lynn, how much is it per square foot, the estimates?
Hold on.
And I have a question while you're looking for that, Lynn. Is it safe to say that over the last 5-6 years, the MSBA has not increased their percentage of square foot allowance to equal escalation that has occurred?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's really the issue, the old, right, we're gonna, if you can build a building for $360 a square foot, we'll happily give you 50% of it. But if your building comes in at 600, and I think you've shown screens before, what Somerville came in and at what some of these other big high schools have come in, and it's been anywhere from 600 to 700. And they're not reimbursing any of these people at that rate.
Correct.
Because that $360 a square foot. I mean, I agree with everybody that this is really difficult subject matter to explain to the masses, because if you're not used to MSBA, the rules, regulations, or really understanding what MSBA is, then it's really difficult to capture all these nuances.
Lynn, is this 631.25? Is that the square foot number?
That's for the direct construction costs, but with the marked up construction costs, it's $861.27.
Per square foot?
Yes.
And we're getting 50% of 360?
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to understand why it's down to 22% when you look at that number.
Right.
Like Joe, like to John's point about the TV station, the district offices that are part of the design but are 100% town. Like, I know we don't want to start breaking these numbers down even more, but like, it's so important to try to say like the school is costing us, but you know, like, I don't know, like I just feel like the TV station and the district office in some way has to be picked out in some way to put a effective square foot cost, like not counting that, even though we're doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, what I want to say too, though, is that if you were to break those out and do them on your own for the town, they would be significantly higher than the cost you see here. Because it is part of the overall construction of the high school, the town is getting it much cheaper if they did these projects on their own.
Right, and that could be part of the narrative to those line items, you know, that's sort of like to help explain those numbers and the just something to explain those numbers, I guess, that it's better to do it this way, and this is why.
Correct.
Jonathan?
Oh, thanks, Joe, and thanks for everyone for the comments. I completely agree with Phil and John on the importance of sort of breaking out the differences, because as I think about it at a very, very high level, part of the reason our effective reimbursement is so low is, we do have some costs that MSBA is not paying for that are intended to replicate what we already have, the gym and so forth. We have a category of costs, I think the district office and WCAT that, yes, are not reimbursed by MSBA, but Lynn, to your point, we'd have to pay them anyway because we have to have a district office somewhere. And if it's not in the high school, it's, we got to find another place for it. So those aren't exactly new costs. Those are costs we're going to bear anyway. And then I think the largest point is the MSBA caps. And my back of the envelope number as we're going through this is that those caps are probably costing us somewhere between $40 and $60 million of MSBA reimbursement. And I think that's the point that we've got to be clear about, both for the public so that people understand that, but also so that as we do think about the overall challenges with MSB reimbursement for us and for other communities, that's a real issue. Just Joe, to kind of reinforce what you mentioned earlier, I do sit on the fiscal policy committee for the Mass Municipal Association, and this is something that a number of communities have raised because everyone is facing this issue. And, the concern is that if the MSBA's caps don't increase, you end up in a situation where really only the wealthiest communities in Massachusetts will ever be able to build a new school. And that's enormously problematic from an equity standpoint. That's enormously problematic from a local cost standpoint, as we're seeing here. So, while we don't know if that will be successful, either in the short term for our project or in the long term, that is something that is getting a lot of attention, and something that, through our association with the MMA, we want to continue to push for and continue to work with our legislative delegation on, because that is the biggest issue that I see here, as we think about the cost. It is not the added spaces. It's not the district office. Again, we'd be paying for those anyway. It's the fact that the MSBA reimbursement is so much lower per square foot than what actual construction costs are.
Yeah, Regan, Lynn, thinking about that, I think that like what Phil's talking about and what John talking about and Jonathan here, maybe we can create a chart that says, here's what the MSBA is the caps at, and like a one pager that'll show the difference, square footage, site, etc., with our numbers and their numbers. I mean, that's an idea that we're gonna play at.
Agreed. I think I can break it down a little bit more
Okay.
to make it helpful. Again, as
All
you
right.
know.
All right, well, we'll work on that.
We didn't set on the total project budget until about noon today, so these slides came together.
And everyone has to understand, I've been in contact with Lynn the past 2 days. I'm driving her crazy, trying to find out if she was going to be ready, and she had other reports that had to be filed for the MSBA, and so we got this done as quickly, and I applaud Lynn and her people for getting this done, even though I gave her a hard time.
Yeah,
But
Lynn,
that's nothing new for you, Lynn.
Lynn, I'm happy to volunteer to help think about how to kind of bring this up to a higher level if you need any support for that.
That'd be great.
Totally get that we're looking at raw numbers here, which we have to, because this is what we have right now. But obviously there's a narrative that I think we have to build from this.
So I think that's great that you would help, because as you well know, as part of the team, we have to be careful not to sell, right? But you don't. You can. Well, I guess.
Well, it's not so much selling, I think, as it's taking a lot of complex information and figuring out how do we distill it to, to a place where people can digest it. I love Phil's example of the ballot question booklet that the state, sends out. It has the full text of the legislation, but it also has the descriptions.
We'll make Phil write it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was gonna say, I think John McDonald for a living does summation of numbers into digestible stories. So I actually feel like John probably should volunteer.
Wow.
Bill, I just want to know,
John just clicked off.
No, I'm happy to. I was going to say that after Jonathan went. I'm happy to. I'd be happy to be involved to try and help, summarize the stuff.
Thanks.
I don't know the MSBA stuff. Lynn will have to teach us that, but yeah, just the summary and putting things at a higher level and tell the story. Definitely.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Stephen,
that would be great. I think we need to do it quickly, because if we're going to make our submission, we have to file a notification on the 13th. So
of what?
October.
I mean, I don't think anybody's saying don't make the submission. I think unless I'm not hearing it right, what I'm hearing is that this is the school we need. There's a lot in it. There's a lot of information to be presented properly, but I don't know that anybody's saying, oh my God, we can't build this. Am I correct in that?
No, but I think we should put something together for the public forum on the 18th.
That's the date I had in my head. Yeah, with the public forum.
Yeah, but I don't think it comes to, am I right for other people that this is just a, wow, we got to really figure out how to present this properly, as compared to, oh my God, we can't do this.
No, I'm pretty concerned, Chip. I mean, what was the tax burden for the Galvin? 40-something million did the town cover, Joe?
I was about 38, I think it was, or somewhere in
there.
there.
My God, people, we are talking 5 times the tax burden for this high school. And we had we got the Galvin through with a lot of a lot of people pushing pretty hard. 5 times the tax burden, that's gonna be a really hard sell. Let's just put it out on the table. I don't think it's gonna pass.
Tim, I think that you did a rough calculation of what it might be.
No, I don't want to hear that yet.
Okay.
No.
Get it from Victor.
Unless you know it, really. Yeah, let's not put numbers.
No,
Yeah, don't say any number. I'm just looking at the 213 versus the
Oh,
38.
no, Jason, I understand that.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it. Stephen Ingles you had your hand up, Stephen?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I didn't, I'm kind of sitting here watching and appreciating the presentation. I was wondering, as we talk about where Jonathan was on the difference, and we all see it, the difference in what construction costs have just gone skyrocketing up and MSBA caps have stayed sort of stagnant. I'm wondering if just a very simple graph of what that's looked like, what that trend has been over the years, and we don't even have to go back that far, because construction costs have just gone so out of whack recently. And I think if we even just put that in a simple graph and projected it out, even if you just go a year or 18 months out, you're going to see that I don't think we're going to see the MSBA caps change. It's a legislative matter, right? Nothing moves quickly in that space. Construction costs are just going to continue to sort of go where the market goes.
Might be interesting is to go back to the cost of the Galvin to present.
Yeah. I think something like that, just a very simple sort of, line graph and an aging graph, I think would be helpful to sort of visualize, what are realistic numbers, and then and what our reimbursement rate has been over the years. I think that would be helpful.
Thank you, Steve.
And then Joe, I just have a question. What year did you guys bid out Galvin? Was it 2013?
Yes.
So this high school, just to keep it in perspective, is bidding out 11 years later. So there has been a good chunk of time in addition to the change in the market as well.
No, but it might be for the town. It might make, what I'm saying is.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. No, I'm just more saying that, sometimes people don't realize it's been almost a decade since you started the Galvin project,
No, I remember it all. I had hair.
So
Jonathan, you had your hand up again?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
another question, and I think it pertains to this slide. Is there any reason, Lynn, why the sort of change in project escalation, basically the inflation in construction costs for this design, would be any different than if we had selected any of the other alternatives that we reviewed in the earlier stage of the process?
No.
Okay.
Back at PSR, we actually estimated not only the preferred option, but 3 other alternatives. And we were including escalation at 7 to 9%. And actually 2022 is going to be 15%. So that percentage difference is reflected in the schematic design cost exercise, as well as we were projecting escalation for 2023 in April to be somewhere on the order of 4 to 6%. And what we're seeing now is a 10 to 15% projection for 2023. So just those 2 numbers alone account for about 17% of the cost difference from April to now.
Got it. So like, even if we had done the renovation option or even the code only option, we'd still be talking about tens of millions of dollars of difference from the April estimates until now. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, Jonathan. Yeah. Dave Capaldo, Dave?
Yes, sir.
When we just wanted to ask if we need to get some real world construction info as well when we're working on these explanations and presentment to the public. We hope to have your assistance as well, sir.
Absolutely. Yep. We track this data all the time.
Yep.
Escalation is very much a crystal ball, but when you see the actual data I think, and for us, it's really, you guys all hit it on the nail on the head. Construction cost escalation has just gone far in excess of anything anybody's predicted, including nothing close to what MSBA's reimbursement adjustments have been. So it's where you're at.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And
All right, Lynn, are there any other questions or comments regarding these numbers?
The only question I would ask, Joe, are Jonathan and Phil and John going to get a hold of Lynn and do something offline together, or how are we proceeding?
Lynn?
Yes, I think do we want to have a PBC meeting on the 11th or 12th before we make a submission to MSBA or notification to MSBA?
I have no problem with that. How does everybody feel?
I would choose the 12th just because of posting an agenda.
Okay. Because Monday's a holiday. Okay.
Is there any members of the PBC or the school building committee have an issue with
What
meeting
day
on Wednesday?
is the 12th?
The Wednesday.
I am not available. But you don't need me. I'm ready to give it to MSBA. I'm okay.
I'm ready. I just want to clear, I'm not saying hold up, not giving the MSBA. Like, this is the project that as a committee, we've heard from the town and the focus groups and SMA and Left Field have put together a design that meets the needs, and we've priced it out, and this is the price. Like, I feel like we have to move forward and submit that. I just feel on the town side, though, as we're gearing up for the 18th and then the eventual vote or whatever,
Right.
we need to do all this other stuff. I'm not trying to suggest that any of this needs to hold back submitting in any way. Like, this is what we've designed. This is what we were charged to do, and this is it. And this is what we're going to present. And I think we need to do that. And at the same time, we need to sort of figure out how we're going to present this in a different format.
Lynn?
Yes.
On the 13th, you're going to be submitting this to the MSBA. We don't have to vote on it, do we?
You just have to vote to tell me to submit it. And
Well,
all it is a notification of what we are going to be presenting as a budget.
but that's not on the 13th. That's on the 27th or something.
That's the 13th that I have to, it's a one-page notification. And then the submission is due on the 27th.
Okay, the
We're gonna
submission's the
be-
27th.
Yeah, we're going to be providing a draft of the schematic design to you on the 13th, I think, 13th or 14th.
All right,
You'll
but
have
you're
a
gonna
week
you're
to
gonna
review.
need to do that during the day on the 13th. So you're gonna need a vote tonight to do the submission, correct?
Yes.
All right, before we go any further,
I, Chairman,
go ahead, entertain a motion, yes.
I move that we grant Lynn permission from the PBC to submit, to notify the MSBA that we will be submitting later on in the month to do the one-page letter that she needs to do.
Is that what you need, Lynn?
Yes.
I'll
There's-
second.
All right, any discussion of that? Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
Mark,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Okay, regarding the other aspect of it is, we're
Can we
gonna,
just
are we
call
meeting
it a
on the-
working session and meet
Yes. on the-
without posting it?
No. You have to-
Well, how many members of the PBC are going to be at it?
It has to be posted.
Okay.
With two people?
No, I heard 3.
Jonathan's not on the committee. Chimes.
No,
Phil-
Phil mentioned talking about a more general meeting.
No, it's okay. Whatever their plan.
I think you get too many people involved in how to present stuff. It gets to be a little
right
burdensome. I trust people to come back and then we can comment on it. But
all right, well, I won't give a number then. Lynn?
Okay.
I suggest you comment some volunteer members of the committee to discuss how to make this presentation for the
Okay.
18th. How's that?
Okay.
Jonathan, you had your hand up again? I'm sorry. I might have missed it.
We covered it already.
Oh, okay, sorry. Gotta
Uh,
get those down, Jonathan, before.
Joe, real quick, does Left Field or does someone or SMMA have like a social media or like a person, public relations person that can help us with this task? Like, is there someone in any of our design team that is more suited to helping present this complicated information in a format that's available as well, or is that kind of above and beyond what their fees are?
Well, I guess that was my question. Is like, have we seen this type of thing in any other projects in the last, year, right? That you've had to kind of do this. Is there examples of how
Don't
towns
we
have had done this?
have a woman that works in the town this is their job?
No,
Jennifer McDonald?
I don't think this is her job.
Well,
No.
we have a marketing
But
person as well. I mean, I think we just
There's
gotta
a
get
difference
the
between
narrative right
difference between
to
marketing
explain
and
it.
putting numbers to away,
Oh. All right, you protected her. Good job.
I just didn't know with like the designers having done schools and other they've run into this, that they have someone that could help like start the ball rolling on what sort of, how to present it, I guess. Better,
Yeah.
that's all. Like, I'm asking.
Typically, the PACs handle that, Phil. We generally support with review of
Oh, okay.
materials, renderings,
So
that's typically what we do.
Okay.
Phil, what the problem is, you're getting awfully close to selling versus presenting.
Right.
Well, that's why, should this be happening through the Yes for WHMS group?
I don't think, I would say we're not selling any of this information. We're just explaining it. I'm not
Right,
I'm not trying to sell the auxiliary gym. I'm just trying to explain it in an easier format is all I'm suggesting.
I agree with that, Phil, and I think we can do that. SMMA has resources to help graphically depict what's going on here, which is really what I'm hearing is what you're looking for.
Okay.
But there's a lot of information here. The slides are very text-based. We need to represent it a little bit better graphically.
I would suggest that SMMA work with Left Field to come up with some ideas and then contact members of the committee to get their input as well, okay? Without having a formal meeting, so to speak.
I think we'll, as Left Field and then SMMA, will just reach out to John and ask him, once we compile some of the information, say, okay, here's how the MSBA works and stuff like that. How would you communicate this very complex process in a more simple manner without, leaving key information out? It's kind of the big challenge of it, is not leaving anything out that's relevant, risking oversimplifying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important to, and I see Doug with his hand up. I think it's important that there's an explanation that goes along with each of the items, excuse me, above and beyond what MSBA covers as to why we feel as a town we need that, because I've already seen the Facebook comments saying, listen, we don't need a school this big. Why do we need a school this big? So why do we need a school this big? And really, I see the school should be explaining why we need a school this big.
Well, that's why Doug Lyons has raised his hand.
Yep.
That'd be quite an explanation. So I agree with what you're saying, Jason. I think that the educational plan, and we need to kind of intersect the slides, and with all of the information, with the dollars, need to be made more accessible, right? And I think Brian Black and his team can help Lynn Stapleton. I also, raised my hand because I also wanted to just say that, with this short timeline, Left Field is we're going to need Left Field to also come back to school committee to kind of read them in on these new estimates as well. So Lynn, we were hoping that could happen on Tuesday night for just a very brief summary on kind of in terms of where we are and then what we're developing as next steps. But
Okay.
But I agree in regard to the informational part of explaining, the educational plan and where we are and why in the design these spaces exist.
Cool.
Thanks, Doug.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, you had your hand up again? Did I, is that?
Once
repeat?
again, Phil had a very insightful point that covered what I was going to say, so.
You don't have to compliment Phil, okay? He
Gotta
got
give
enough
credit where it's
compliments.
due.
All right. Is there any other questions, comments on the cost? Lynn?
Okay, just to wrap up, we have a traffic advisory committee that's with Metro Tech on the 21st. And we had a meeting in regards to Hemlock Road and the realignment with Tom Mullins and Steve Mayo. I can't remember what, yesterday, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Tom is going to call the DCR's chief counsel to discuss what they're feeling on action, or we had discussed a potential of leaving the easement as it stands and just increasing it to include the road realignment portion. And if they don't have any objection to that, that will save us some time and costs if we don't have to do an environmental impact report or the Article 97 process. So that brings us to calendar of meetings. We're gonna be at Town Day on the 8th. I'll send out the notification to MSB on the 18th. We have a public forum scheduled for the 13th, and we will change the school committee meeting date to the 11th.
Public
And-
forum's the 18th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. In the school committee meeting, we're gonna change that to the 11th.
Okay.
And then we'll meet again on the 20th. Hope at that point you should have had the schematic design in hand to take a look at it, the submission. And we'll vote to submit the schematic design on the 20th, and then we'll submit on the 27th.
Right, Phil, Tom, and John, and Jason, you've all mentioned that you'll be there when Phil's not at the beer garden. Is there, I know I know I'm asking too much, Lynn, but what do you guys think that are gonna be there regarding these numbers? Do you want like a sheet or something, or what?
I think just the summary of the slides that Lynn, like the slides right before the slide you have up with like the red boxes, like the summary budget slides. If we're gonna have a cheat sheet of any kind, those would probably be the ones we'd want to have on hand.
Yeah, I
Joe.
think the bigger the better, not going into gross detail and
Not
at
gross
this
detail.
stage.
And maybe
Right.
maybe the slide that shows what's extra with the note, maybe that one just to reference. Not, I don't think we're handing out anything, right? It's I would imagine it's a conversation on if anyone were to come up to us.
Is there, Brian, what do you have planned for the town day?
I have two boards that give kind of a cross section of the whole building. So there's a shot of the entry, there's a shot of the dining commons, there are plans, and then there are, just some diagrams and some of the characteristics of the school that we're trying to employ that are based on the educational program. So it's a lot of pretty pictures mostly. There's one piece that has all the sort of call outs of all the sustainability pieces. So we're trying to give, a good broad picture of the project to those who have not seen it before. It will also have QR codes on the boards so that those link to the project website, a sort of portfolio of images, and also the flyer for the next community meeting. So we cover a lot in about a 6 foot long by 2 foot high panel.
And we're gonna do some handouts of the frequently asked questions. And we'll probably do a handout of the QR codes too.
All right, are you gonna do a handout of like a big picture of the cost?
If you want me to. I mean, you know,
Well, Phil and Tom and Jason and John, you're the ones that are gonna be there. I think you should have it. I don't think we should, we have to be transparent as possible.
Yeah, I think something to reference if we
Yeah.
need to is probably the most important thing, and easy to read
Yes.
stuff. Not
Big-
not the MSBA spreadsheet.
No, the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Lynn, maybe you can get that for Phil and John and Jason and Tom. Okay?
okay, sure. Well, I'll bring it. I'll bring
Oh,
Hannah.
that's right. You're gonna be there. Sorry.
Yeah,
Joe, are you gonna be there?
No, I am not.
I thought you were gonna maybe take me to dinner or something.
I'm gonna be out of town. No. No, I cannot be there. I have a birthday party, a 40th birthday party of one of my child. So I will be
All
there.
right.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, anything else, Lynn? You're all done, right?
All done. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Do we know when the appointments are gonna be for the open seats?
Yes, we do. Next week. Jonathan, are you still with us?
Sorry. Yes, they are. I believe they're on for our meeting on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, okay. I thought that was the date that
Yep.
It was unusual that it was Wednesday because I couldn't figure that one out. Yeah, there were 2 slots and there were 2 applicants.
Great.
Anybody else? How about a motion to adjourn and click leave meeting?
I'd move that we adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Very nice.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Joe. Nice job.
Thanks, Doug. Take care.
Take care.
All right, bye.